In progress.
Hey, have you guys found the code for the first quest yet?
Yeah.
Where could you give me a hint to where I could find it?
Oh yeah.
Posted it on the subreddit yesterday.
Oh, okay. Sick. Thank you.
It was in
Yeah.
Announcements. And then it's like in the welcome to A tab.
There, that's better. Hey, so I have a question. Did any of you join by clicking the link on the, when you get into Canvas, the first page you see, the home page, I think there's a link there, right? That says, here is the Zoom link for the weekly meetings or something like that. Is there a link?
I joined with the on Canvas, just like the Foothill Zoom tab, and then clicking on
Yeah.
today's
Okay,
date.
I did that too, and that
Yeah, I did that.
works. But today I was surprised, and I hope that students weren't affected, because today I said, well, instead of going to that place like Keenan did, let me just click on this link that I have right here. As soon as I get into Canvas, when it says welcome, under there's a Zoom, it says it's a Zoom link. And I said, well, I've put it there conveniently for the students. How really good of me. So I clicked that and it said that page cannot be found. Okay, so let me fix that later today. Yeah, so have you guys been good? So have you had fun working on data representation? Because from this week, you're essentially going to be working on programming, coding, and the quests. Okay, so you can start questing this week, and you may actually see a whole lot of questing by green people, right? So my 2B students are also completing the blue quests, and that's because they get credit for completing the blue quests. And so obviously the bunch of 2B students who are also my previous 2A students, they get a free ride because they get the credit for the quests. Like if you complete all the blue quests now and you come to my 2B later, all of the blue quests can be used for credit, right? I think 10% or so. So you'll see a whole bunch of advanced quests being completed also. So you can actually see, right? So you can see people asking about the platypus quest. And pointers and things like that, and many times if you're just venturing into C++ and programming itself, you might think, wow, I mean, these guys are talking about pointers and structures, because I remember back in the day when I started programming, and it wasn't C++, it was C, right? And I was doing quite a few things in C, writing some cool stuff, but there were always these advanced programmers in my team, in our, and so they would be working on also C code, right? And I could understand a lot of that, but they would have things like structures and dereferencing things and pointers and so on. And I always thought that these pointers and these things are going to be like, a couple of classes ahead than what I was currently doing. So I thought, I have to do my grad work before I get to know that stuff. And because those guys were all, postgrads at that time, they were like, masters and guys. So I thought, there's no way I could understand what they're doing until I, got through college like that. But then it's, I surprised myself later. because that stuff you don't need to go that deep into the subject in order to know that. So you may actually see these posts, and I actually love two things about the way things are going in 2B2 right now, because I think a whole lot more people are now really helping each other. But the thing I really like is that this started out as an experiment, by the way, okay, that everything is just going to be public. Okay, because in the past I've done it the other way. I had secret office hours. I would help students one-on-one, and then after a long time, several years. Well, several. I don't mean like tens of years, because I'm sure Michael Losef has the same experience, right? But he could probably corroborate a lot of what I'm saying from his years of experience before he retired. But I think that really ended up helping nobody. Right? It's like your genius words of wisdom sometimes that I see on Canvas discussions that I know are going to evaporate at the end of the quarter, right? And I wish that this same thing had been said by the student on Stack Overflow, right? But but many of the students have these brilliant things to say, and even though they are brilliant on Canvas, they may not have the bravery to say the same thing on Stack Overflow, even if they have like a 10% chance of being wrong. Right, because they don't want to. So I know, right? There are some students who would just go and say that, but but the thing is, I shouldn't get sidetracked. I think the fact that I said, let's not be secretive anymore, right? Because why do people need to be secretive, right? So there's no reason, because I realized that even in my own life, for a very long time in my life, I was very secretive about a lot of things. Just because people told me this is information that shouldn't be shared, right? But in the process of doing that, unthinkingly, I realized one day that it actually caused me a great deal of grief, right? It actually, not that, it gave me more grief than the benefit I got out of it, right? Because in the process of doing that, you actually, alienate good people, and you overlook things that are being done to you out of kindness, and many things that creep into that world, right? So I realized that what is the point? Let me find out what is worth being kept a secret and what is not, right? Things like your social security number and bank account numbers. Okay, yeah, well, those kind of things make sense, right? But I think culturally there's this thing that has been ingrained into us from years and years. That's there's a lot of things that people just say. And so the thing that I want to say is, once everything became public, and I think what happened is that we have discovered something in this forum, or at least I thought I did, is that there is a lot of really good stuff happening in our classes, okay? Because maybe like 5 or 10% of the students are struggling, or they're too scared to ask, or they don't have role models. They don't have strong students to emulate, right? And previously what happened was that this being secretive also kind of encouraged this competitive nature, that people can get secret help and get a leg up over others. They climb over each other's, and it's all unhealthy behavior, right? It does. And because when you climb over others, there's no end, right? You can keep doing that until the day you die, right? So until you die. So and there's no fun to it. And but being open, I found that a lot of really good people, strong people, say, well, this is what I've done to become successful. And they're also cool people, right? It's not like, I've been successful because I've been slaving away. No, I'm successful. I'm doing these cool things, but at the same time, also, I party, and I'm a Halo team manager or something like that, right? So they're all. So, and they're all being open, and so what's going on is that some of the people who might not have had a role model to look up to in class now actually have many, right? So you can just go to the forums and see, well, I can do all that, and it's basically opening up the whole class to become more even and helpful to each other. So I absolutely love that. So I see that happening in 2B, and I would like to, just continue that. And continue that, so far successful experiment anyway, I think. And because I think it's encouraging good behavior overall, because ultimately we all become helpful, and then that way you can all work on a group project without even knowing it, right? Each of you think you're actually doing your own thing, but your own thing is also fun for everybody else. And then it happens, and then this incredible monument gets built by all of you together. And so that is, I think, the way that big things happen. And so I'm very happy to see all that unfold, okay, in the forum. Because last quarter, I was really worried about 2B. I thought, maybe 2B is not going to survive because, at the beginning of the quarter, I had this many students, and then, many of them dropped off and it dwindled down, and the forum activity was minimal except for a couple of committed students. And I thought, what can I do to revive it? What can I do to revive the joy of computer science in the students who are entering it? And it seems to be working. That, just to say that, if you're a strong student, you should not be secretive at all, right? You should not say, I've done this, and I've done this, and I'm just going on, I'm getting my certificate, I'm moving on, I'm going to this college, or going to join that company or jump jobs. So that, helps, even doesn't help you, I think, right, in the end. But this way, you actually make it known, and everybody else can also follow along the footsteps of whoever the most successful person at that time is. And everybody you can get to. And that way, I hope to see a lot of you at the end of the red trail, okay? And it's the same kind of thing with platypus too. And mixing of the colors also I'm kind of liking, because now that I've made a blue kind of mandatory, now it's extra credit. From next quarter onwards, it's going to be it's worth 10 actual points, right? So now the colors also start mixing, and now you would actually see, even though you're doing Hello World and Limerick and things like that, basic stuff, you may actually see posts about pointers in the same forum at the same time, because previously, you had to wait until all of the students advanced. So you actually, all of the time, you can get an exposure to people at varying levels and say, well, all of these guys are just my students, right? At the most, they're like 6 months ahead of me, right? And so you now have a very good calibration point for yourself to shoot for and things like that. So I think it's really fun. And questing should be fun, okay? I tried to make it as fun as possible. And if you have any ideas, just send it to me, okay? And we'll see if we can work it through into either the existing quests, or I don't want to change them too much so that the new students will be affected, because I still want some of the past posts to be relevant, right, and useful. So we've got to find out some way in which we can change quests with your suggestions so that it doesn't affect new students that much. But we can do it, right? I mean, we had the very first time questing was offered was, I think, 2019, September. Yeah, that was the fall of 2019. And that time, the students who took the class had to do questing cold, right? No subreddit, nothing, right? So they had to do all of that. But that was only, what? I don't say, I forget the history. All right. So anyway, so now I think we are, well, we're still not at time to start coding. So we won't start coding until 8:30, okay? We'll start coding at 8:30. And then one of you, hopefully, will pick up the screen. And then we'll just do that idea that I tossed around last class. Unless you have a better idea, we can try that, which I think is just going to be that we'll open one editor, okay? One shared editor. Everybody can jump into, right? So it's just going to be this pool party, right? So one big, editor text file, main program, right? We'll just call it a main program. And then we'll have lots of comments, one chunk, right? Let's say 5 inches of code for each person. I don't know, how does it work? Can you, we've got to find an editor in which you can edit up here, and someone else is editing a portion of the code which you cannot see, right? Which they can see, but you cannot see. So can you edit stuff that other people cannot see, or can you all just edit only when your cursor is visible? So that's something we'll find out today, right? We'll find out if you have a big document, if you can edit a portion of it that's visible and someone else is editing something that is further down. So those are things that we can find out. Yeah. So until about 8:30, let's just keep the airways occupied. I don't want it to be quiet. If you guys have any questions, or even you want to talk amongst yourself, that is fine, okay? If you want to talk amongst yourself, what I can do is I can just turn the laptop around. So I'm not looking at the screen, so I don't crank this tile. So you just can, what is it, 8:15 until 8:30, right? If you want me to answer any questions, you can always call me back, right? And say, hey, right? Or you can rope me into a conversation, that's fine too. But otherwise, 8:15 to 8:30, do you guys want to carry on a conversation of your own? You can even share a screen and talk about stuff with data representation. Or if you have a question about data representation, you can ask me. If you have a general question, right? Before you start coding, that's a good time.
I have a question about, I took the
Sean, yes.
A representation quiz,
Mhm.
and I got a question wrong, and I was wondering if it's not okay to share the question, right? So I was
Well,
wondering
it
how.
depends, it's okay, with data representation, I think it's okay to share the question. And say what could be the answer to that, and people could have, because ultimately every data representation question I think has an answer somewhere, either on the web or in module 0. So what's the difference if you put the question out there and one of the students answers it? Someone will have to go and find out, right?
Okay, so I got this question wrong, and I don't know how to.
You can
find the
ask
answers.
that, right? Yeah, I don't know why there was no other than Sam. Nobody else volunteered any discussion last week on data representation. I believe it was only Sam, right? I mean, I think that discussion about the president. I don't want to tell the name of the president, right? So you should go and find out. You should solve Sam's puzzle, okay? So I should try and do that.
Do you guys hear that knocking? What is that?
Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. That is me. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. So whenever there is a certain level of activity on the question server, I have a bip come through like that. So that means that lots of people are questioning right now, and maybe there are 2B folks trying to. They got to finish all the blue level quests by tomorrow. Tonight. So they're just questioning away.
Okay, awesome. Also, Professor, what's the best way to interject to ask a question? Like,
like now, you can just talk.
Just start speaking.
Yeah, just start speaking and say, hey, Prof, just give me a sec, or something like that. Do what you do if I was, sitting by and having a conversation.
So I think what I was going to ask was, so the data representation quiz, I noticed it was open until March. Was that deliberate?
Yeah.
All quarter?
Well, really, I think, was it open until March?
Yeah, it's open.
Yeah, you know what? I can leave it open until March, but I think you would be best to finish it. You let me know if you just want me to close it in a week or so, or right? I can do that.
Yeah, I plan on taking it. I just wanted to let you know that you left it open that long, so some students might see that as something that they could take any time in the quarter.
No, I think you're right, Zane.
Yeah.
All right, I should close it, okay? And you also maybe remind your student, your classmates too.
Okay.
You go away next week, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I did last year? Yeah, last year what I did was I reopened the data rep quiz in week 12, so that those who wanted to take another crack at it can do it. Maybe that's what. When you do a Canvas import, it changes. So yeah, I'll close it. End of week 2, 2 weeks. Okay, I think reasonable.
So by the end of this week, basically.
Yeah. By the end of this week, data rep will go.
Okay, yeah. I'll definitely try to make a post about that.
Thanks.
Okay. Can I share my
Sean,
screen?
yeah, go
That I
ahead.
had trouble with. Okay.
Hey, Sean, are you talking? Hey, I think there's some kind of a. Hey, can you guys just say, as soon as you see my hand go up, just say something, okay? Say yes or something like that, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, everything disappeared. Oh, all right, okay. Sean started screen sharing and everything disappeared.
Hold on.
That's okay.
Okay.
I thought there was a lag because sometimes what happens is that someone starts talking. And then there is a lag before Zoom recognizes that you've started talking. So the activity box, the outline, the fluorescent outline that you get, the window gets, that subpanel, it takes a few seconds to move around. So I'm confused. And especially since some of you are wearing masks, like Sam was wearing a mask, and then Kylie is wearing a mask now, right? So when you start talking, and then Zoom doesn't shift the focus to you, I don't know where the voice is coming from, and that throws me off. So just excuse me, okay? Sometimes, because I have to figure out over that cognitive. It's not a shock, but at the same time, it's something that I'm not used to.
Okay.
Fernando, you're back. Okay, all right, Fernando, can you switch your camera on?
Yeah. I'll do it right now.
Okay, and I hope that you've got your laptop and all these issues sorted out now.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we're going to be coding this, starting today for the next 12 weeks. Okay. 11 weeks or 10 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, John and Fernando, you've both got to have your cameras on. Okay.
Yeah, I'll turn it on right now.
Okay. And hey, John, are you, you're also muted. All of you guys can just feel free to unmute yourself. And yeah, and turn on your cameras. Hey, what is this? I was about to say. Yeah. So I don't know. You got to not only speak up and maybe raise your hand or something. Okay, so I can shift my focus to you. That's why I think I'm losing the first few words of what many of you say, because at that time my brain is probably just fighting to figure out who's saying something.
Hello?
Thank you, Sean. Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Do you want to do this now? Here, okay. Here is a good opportunity. Because we want to start coding, but we don't want to not do this. How about
Right.
this? And because we're having a paucity of discussions on the sub.
Right.
Okay. How about you initiate a discussion in the sub using this?
Okay. Got it.
And then it'll just be a thread that for everyone's benefit. Is
Okay.
everybody okay with that? Everything to do with data representation, okay? Don't bring it up in class because there's nothing in the sub on data rep, so might as well use that. And I think the flare for that should be, well, maybe I'll create a new flare, or maybe you can call it building blocks. Yeah, call it building blocks. I think that's what it is. I think building blocks. I think there's a Lego bricks thing icon for that. Okay. Anything else? Do you guys want to talk on your own? You can call me, okay? You can call me if you want. You can call me and I'm happy to come back. Or I'm happy to be here. Or you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Oh, Professor, I don't know if you covered this last class, but what editor do you use or development environment?
Oh, yeah, don't use what I do, right? Yeah, you should use
Okay.
what's the best for you. If you,
Okay.
I think here's the advice I've gotten from it. Not advice. Here's what I've noticed. A lot of really successful guys building cool products seem to do it with ease in VS Code.
Okay, that's what I use already.
Yeah. I think they have got so many plugins now, and it's so thin. You can even run VS Code on a Raspberry Pi, I think. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's got and the reason it's thin is because if you want to do Python development, you don't need to run VS Code with all the C++ baggage even, right? You can just have the Python libraries alone, and it'll take care of. I'm not a VS Code user. I don't know, right? I just use Emacs for everything mostly, right? Or VI or something like that. That's why I said don't do what I do. And Xcode is good. If you have a Mac, Xcode. It's really good. Even you can integrate Git version control and everything. You can integrate your GitHub account into it with Xcode, just like VS Code. All of these guys are the same, really. Under the covers, they're all the same. Even over the covers, right? Because if you look at it, even if you go into the debugger and you're used to the Xcode or even Visual Studio debugger, right? Well, Visual Studio goes without saying, right? Because VS Code borrows from it directly. But if you're used to Xcode and you just go to VS Code one day like that, you don't need to be, and nobody needs to hold your hand to use a debugger, right? So you can figure everything out within like 5 minutes because they all use the same icons and even mouse over tooltips, they're all there. All these goodies that never used to be there before. I'm thinking like 20 years ago, but still, the fact is, the 20 years ago when people were fighting with little bugs, they were still actually pleasurable little bugs, right? It wasn't like frustrating little bugs. Everything is about the same now, I think. Right? Because with no editors and everybody had to assemble these little things together painstakingly, but we think it's painstaking now because we can do so much other cooler things, right? But back in the day, but those were the cool things. Assembling them were the cool things, right? So it wasn't painstaking. So many people would just basically write programs and in the hard way and have a blast doing that too. So it's all the same, I think, right? It's just at different levels. Yeah, editor-wise, I don't have any recommendations. But in terms of what I've seen, VS Code. In fact, there was a student called Virginia Bell, okay, several quarters ago. In fact, very first time I offered questioning, or even before that. Yeah, before I offered questioning maybe, right? 2018, 2019, maybe. She did a tutorial on how to use VS Code for C++ project in CS2A or something like that. Okay, and I made a video, YouTube video, and that video is available in the CS2A in the CS2A channel on our YouTube video, YouTube channels, right? So non-linear media, and in there somewhere, Virginia's tutorial can be found. She did a bunch of videos, right? And one of those is VS Code. Yeah. Any other questions? No, no other questions. You guys want to talk amongst yourself? Yeah, you can talk about anything, right? Talk about data wrap if you want. Talk about what you're going to do with questing or quest one. You started stuff. Talk amongst yourself, right? No worries. But we can start 5 minutes. We got 8:30, right? Let's make it a point to start no later than 8:30. Okay. So that means that I think the class. Why are many of the people? Am I not viewing all of you?
Make sure you're
it seems like
Zoom
all of you.
gallery view.
Yeah, I am in gallery view, and there's only 16. What's going
I think
on?
there's only 16 in here.
You can only see 16 too, right?
Yeah.
And the 16 includes me, right? So there's only 15 students in class.
Mhm.
So we've got to figure out what's going on. I hope some of the students didn't get scared away or something. I remember most of them, right? In fact, remember. I think probably I can call out the names of most of the people who are absent today. But I hope I didn't scare them off, or you guys, or I'm not going to convey the information saying, hey, well, we'll take turns. Like Peter does, maybe there's a whole bunch of squirrels out there. They're all called Peter, right? They all go at different times to get their goodies, right? So you guys have a secret deal saying, all right, Tuesday with this batch, Thursday that batch, and then you get together. Hey, but encourage everybody, all right? I know you guys have a Discord channel and Slack channel and things like that, which I discourage, right? Obviously, students are going to have these things, but I actually discourage anything that you say that could potentially be valuable, okay? Don't say in secret, right? What's the use, right? If it's useless, it'll be useless. The AI and the system will figure out it's useless. It's just going to be out there as part of the dirt, right? Like sand, and everybody walks on it, that's fine, okay? But if you say something useful, why do you have to put the onus of discovering and transferring it and so on, right? Just put it out there, right? If it's good, it'll just take seed and plant and grow, right? And so that's why I say interact in the open forums as much as possible, okay? Stack Overflow is fine. All of these open forums are good. And if you do interact in Stack Overflow, you can get credit for it, by the way, okay? If you think that, I don't want to just talk to my classmates because they, maybe I want to have a different perspective from what my classmates are thinking, right? Because my classmates may be thinking about it from a quest point of view, right? But I want to do this, which none of the quests require, but maybe my secret project that I'm working on at night, right? For, a surprise gift for my, someone I like, right? So that requires it. And I can ask that in my subreddit. So I'll ask on Stack Overflow, and it's a really nice question. What you can do is basically double dip, right, and get credit for it, and say, hey, I made this post on Stack Overflow, and you guys are welcome to go and comment on that, right, and put a link to that post, and that also counts for participation credit in our class, right? Anything you do open forums, okay, or open out there is great. You just do it, and I think one of the greatest things is again, I could be wrong, okay, and I'm just going to throw it out there, okay. This is a suggestion. One of the ways in which you can basically free up a great deal of your time, okay, great deal, unimaginably huge amount of your time for your doing your own thing, right, is just to be open about everything, right? Don't be secretive about anything more than what you absolutely have to. And then you find that you don't, like Mark Twain said, right? I think it's Mark Twain. All these really clever, witty things. Mark, was it Mark Twain? If you say that, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Okay, I think that's what he said. Okay, and it's a very nice quote, isn't it? It's a very nice quote, because if you look at many humans today, we're just carrying around a huge amount of cognitive load. Okay, cognitive load is stuff that you have to remember. and you're at danger if you forget. So and then as time goes on, the cognitive load accumulates for lots of people, right? Because they have to remember, this and this and this. No, this particular group of people, I have to project this image, right? That particular people have a different image, right? And then they have multiple persona that they have to project, and they have to remember all of these things. And if you think about it, if you're a CS2A student, each of these is a stack frame, right? Or is a context frame, right? You got to load it, but in order to load it, you got to take your existing frame and store it somewhere. Okay, and what happens if that frame calls another frame, right? And you can have a stack overflow, and that's why many people in real life have stack overflows and kill themselves, right? So the best way to overcome that is to just say, I'm not going to do these recursive calls, okay? I'm not going to maintain context or anything more than what I absolutely have to. So I'm going to shrink everything down and live an LDL lifestyle, right? It's a low dependency living, right? And say, well, if I say something that I have to remember, that's actually a dependency, right? Because now I can't be happy until I, that sword is not hanging over my head anymore. So so try and remove all these swords as much as possible, and then you'll be totally surprised how much time it frees up for you. So to do whatever the hell you want. Okay, so it's just my 2 cents out there. Maybe true, may not be true, but you can actually say to me, right? Disprove me too. That's perfectly fine. And I would love for anyone to take a stab at it and tell me whether it's wrong or right. But for credit purposes, for CS2A, 2B, and 2C, I think I will basically say I will award a participation credit, whether it is on the subreddit or elsewhere. That is fine. Okay, you just need to draw our attention to it. Okay, not by private email again. Okay, again, private email, I don't, no credit. Okay, so if you make a really cool contribution out there, okay, and even if you've made a really cool contribution to your company, right? And if you're working somewhere and you made a really nice contribution to your company, and using some principle that you had, you can't disclose completely, right? But the company had a blog and someone wrote about it, and you say, hey, that was me. And in order to do that, I leveraged an idea which made a use of this theory or whatever it is, right? So you just give some rationale for this, like a loose research paper, right? So whatever you did there, a story that's interesting as well as kind of informative and encouraging to junior students, right? All of that is valuable, right? So you get points for those things. I think, I'm loving the experiment so far, right? I mean, students seem to be liking it. Obviously some students don't like it. That's why I tried to make my best effort to make it very clear in the syllabus that this whole thing is going to be very different. Okay, so this class, this style of teaching is different, and I just say that in the syllabus. So if you're, and I know it may not work for everyone, you got to make sure that you are always on top of things. Hey, Fernando, your camera is not set right, and John, you're not. I don't know, maybe John is not here. John, are you here?
Yes.
You got to, are you not able to use your camera?
Sorry, my camera, I could maybe next month I have ordered
right, sure.
another computer.
Keep talking,
Sorry.
right? Yeah, no, that's okay. It's okay if you don't use your camera, but just keep talking or something, because I don't know if you're just taken off, right? Logged in and taken off, right? Because from Fernando also sometimes, you didn't have your camera on, and I sometimes I ask, talk to you also, and when you don't respond, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you've taken a break or if you're, logged in and just taken off. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Thanks. And just feel free. Everybody should feel free to talk, right? And that's why I'm always talking all the time. I'm talking and talking and talking. So you can use me as an example, maybe a bad example or a good example, right? If it's a bad example, you say, I want to cut him off. I want to talk some too, right? Take some of the airwaves, start talking. Don't have zero energy, because crazy things happen when people come and then they just go. When nobody's doing anything, if a new student joins, they'll just go, right? They need to have some kind of activity happening all the time. And it is an active class, so we shouldn't be projecting an impression of an inactive class when we're not an active class, right? We're doing cool stuff, and people are actually taking the initiative to work on things and share stuff on the forums and things like that. So we shouldn't stay quiet, and then people think that nothing's happening in this class, right? Then they wouldn't be encouraged to join and increase our fun. Right, the more the merrier, really, isn't it? So the more people that join your project, the better the project can be, really. As long as everybody's drawing towards the same goal, obviously, right? So that is my take on all of these things. And what time is it? Well, it's past time to start coding. That's enough of a spiel for me. Nobody is talking, okay? So last quarter, look at some of the videos from last quarter, okay? So last quarter, not that I want this, right? I'm not saying this out of laziness or anything. So not that I want to just take off and you guys talk. I'm not saying that for that reason, because I'm happy to participate in all of your conversations, right? But I also want you to feel comfortable talking to each other, right? Without me looking over your shoulders. That's why I want to turn the computer away, but I can be listening. And if you want me to switch off and I'm not even listen to you, that's fine. But you know, it's going to be recorded. I can listen to it later. That's fine, right? You can tell me, don't listen to me now, to us now. We'll just have a talk and you can look at the recording later. That's fine. I'm happy to do that too. Because all of these things affect the way in which you can talk, right? You know, I've been parts of so many conversations, right? And I know that if you want to have, you know, a free-flowing conversation, professors, I don't know, sometimes cramp your style. So I'm very happy. If you just have to ask me, right? So I want to make it very clear to you that I'm not offended by these things. Okay. So if you want to, so you shouldn't think that I'm a professor who'd say, well, you know, that student wants me to get lost and so that they can have a conversation. So I'm going to retaliate or something like that. No, I don't care. Right. I'm happy. Right. I want you guys to say, we're independent. Prof, give us a chance to be independent. Right. Because you're not going to be like even your mom and dad. Okay. Or your guardian or whoever it is, they're not going to stick around all your life, right? So the faster you learn to live independently, the better you can learn to live with other people too, right? Because only people that know how to live by themselves can live well with other people, right? Because otherwise you're sucking the energy out of other people. So I think I would like it very much to say, if you guys tell me, hey, Prof, you know, get the hell out of here, right? We want to do some really cool stuff. And you can look at the video later, but don't bother us now. And I'm super duper happy to hear you say that, because I know that, well, you know, you want to take a stab at trying to be independent yourself, right? And then once you say, I'm comfortably being independent, you can come and go anytime you want, then I'll be here all the time with you guys, right? So I'm, you know, more than happy to work with you, even now, right? But I'm just saying, you don't have to do that, but keep that in your mind, okay? So I want you to say to me, you know, can you give us some time? Can you give us some time to just noodle on this on our own? Right? We just want to, and if you want me to create breakout rooms, right? 2 or 3 breakout rooms, right? And say, you know, in fact, I can't enter the breakout rooms. Actually, that's really cool, isn't it? So in fact, I haven't figured out how Zoom handles the breakout rooms, right? When you enter a breakout room, do you get an option to record what's going on inside of the breakout room? Do you have the record button inside of breakout rooms?
I don't think it might be inside the breakout room.
Oh, I see. So there's only one recording track for the entire meeting, and then everything that happens in breakout rooms is separate and recorded.
I've never ran one, but I think so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you know, we can do breakout rooms. That is my reluctance then to do breakout rooms, because you can't have those things recorded. If you want, right? Maybe I can set up one breakout room where people can go to have conversations. I would prefer, though, that you just have a conversation out in the open like this, right? Don't care about what you say, and use this class as a chance to be wrong, okay? Everybody has to be right all the damn time, right? So be wrong. And then if someone says to you, hey, you were wrong, totally wrong, you say, yeah, absolutely, because that's what the class wants me to do, right? So in fact, in CS2A, I get points for being wrong, okay? So this is the only class in which you get points for being wrong, okay? So you can say, yeah, you know, I'm wrong, because that's, you know, it's expected of me to be wrong in a public forum. I get points for that. Okay, so you can totally feel free to say right and wrong things. The only thing, you know, is mean things. Okay, so mean things is the only thing that, you know, I'll delete them, right? And I'll delete them. And if you say stupid things, I'll delete them too. But, you know, the stupid things, well, I'll delete them only if I see them. Okay, I can't see all of them. So, but mean things, if you say mean things, I'll delete them and I'll give you negative points. But stupid things, I won't give you negative points. So I'll just delete them so that it won't damage your own, you know, portfolio. But you can't bank on me. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so just don't say any of those 2 things, right? Those are 2 bad things to say. Anything else, wrong things and right things, perfectly fine. Both of them are eligible for points. Okay, so just feel free. So what we can do is that we can open a code window right now. Someone take the screen and get a URL that everybody can share, and we can start coding in it. Or, right? Or if you want some time to talk amongst yourself, that is fine too, right? So in answer to my question, one of you can basically just take the screen. Hopefully not Sean, okay? Not Sean, not Sam, who's not here today. Who else? Hey, someone else. someone else last class. Was it Noah? No, Nathan. Was it Nathan? Dwayne, where's Dwayne? Where's Dwayne? All right, so those guys are not allowed to take the screen, okay? Because they also had some kind of a chance. They'll get a chance soon, but they had a chance to participate before. Gosh, what? Yeah, someone else. Take the screen. Just open up an editor. Just open up a browser, okay? Before you share the screen, make sure that you share a private window, okay? A Chrome or whatever it is. Open up a private tab, okay? And private window. And the reason I say that is because if you don't do a private window and then you have things in your autocomplete that gives things away, and then I don't have the bandwidth, okay, to pour over all of these videos and edit those things out. And so my choice is basically to say, I'm just going to put it out there like that, or not put it out there at all. And then either way is not good. Yes? Okay. All right. So make sure that when you open up a Chrome window, make sure it's all, clear and private window. And then what we'll do, yeah, I think, well, let's see. Let's just search. We'll do a run search, on one of those search engines. I'll do search for online C++, online shared C++ editor. I think, most editors also include compilers. I think online shared C++ editor, maybe. Well, let's search for that. Open, but first don't do that and then share your window, right? Share the window and then let's do the search together. And then let's pick up one of those. Let's create a blank file, main.cpp. And first of all, let's just run hello world, make sure it works, okay? And then let's get rid of the hello world, and then we'll give comment blocks, okay? Comment blocks, I think we've got 16 people here, 15, right? 15 comment blocks. Each one will be owned by one of us, okay? So that's Juan's and I keep forgetting. Juan or Juan? Or Yuan?
Both are okay. Juan is pronounced in
Juan?
Yeah.
Juan, okay, I'll just remember to call you Juan.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, because Juan is also sounds to me like the Mexican name, Spanish name Juan, right? So, but then I see the Wu, so I think then I say, okay, and then it must be the Chinese pronunciation, but I don't know the inflection and things like that. So, Juan, Juan, is that right?
Okay.
No, tell me how you say it.
In Mandarin, it's pronounced as Juan.
Guan. All right, I'll try it. I'll say Guan.
Okay.
All right, that's fine. When Fernando, and then Brian, Van. Oh, so you can actually basically have each of those people will have a comment block, and then and you're going to say this is what I'm calculating, right? And I'll say I'll have one too, right? And I'll say this is what I want to calculate. I will pull something out of thin air, right? And say this is what I want to do.
So
hey, someone sent
in chat, I sent a. It's basically just an online compiler that like everyone can join all at once.
Okay, all right, let's do that. All right, so Keenan sent something in chat, but nobody's even picked up the screen and nobody's shared the screen with a browser. Can someone do that, please? And then we can try and open up an editor at this thing, app.codingrooms. Does it also compile, Keenan?
I have no idea, but I can figure that out.
Find out if it compiles, right? If it doesn't compile, let's just go to. I'm pretty sure online GDB does let you co-edit and compile at the same time, but let's find out, right? In fact, why doesn't someone take an online, a browser window, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah. Hey, Fernando, you can take the screen if you want, okay? Because you haven't, you haven't taken the screen in a long time, I think, right? So you can take the screen if you want, and then we'll walk you through the browser steps. You like, or anyone can take the screen, okay? Anyone, I'm just throwing it out there. Someone should, right? I got to close the chat window because I can't see most of you. Someone take the screen and open up a browser, anonymous browser window. Fernando, are you hearing me?
I could do it.
Okay.
How would I take the screen?
I think in Zoom, there's something called share window, and then you would share a Chrome window.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Fernando, you're not even reacting to what I say. Are you hearing what I say?
Yeah.
You are, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not able to take the screen right now. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe next time.
Next time? Okay. All right. Okay, good. So just keep that in mind. Okay. You got to, if you don't practice, you're not going to learn. I can assure you. Okay.
Okay.
Otherwise, because otherwise we'll always stay in the kiddie pool. You got to try and get get familiar with the water. Okay, because if you stick at it, you will be swimming with the sharks. I can guarantee. So everybody who sticks at this, right, gives it their 100%. They will find themselves swimming with sharks very soon. Okay, it's a great experience. It's a great experience, but you got to give it your all. Okay, and you can't say that I'm happy with 6 feet depth and I'm not going to go anymore. That's fine too. You can live a life like that, but but this is a much better, not better. I shouldn't say better, but there's a whole world to be discovered. Let me put it that way. Okay, so hey, Van, why don't you take the screen?
Me?
Okay, sorry.
Brian,
I had
do you
some
actually
trouble
have
getting
two
a
doors
private
like this, or Brian? Do you have two doors like this, or one of them is a reflection of the other? Behind you. Oh wow! So
Oh, nice.
oh wow!
So-
One of them seems like a reflection, but it's not.
Yeah, I have a hat on one of them. One of them is a closet door. One of them leads out
Yeah,
to the rest
yeah,
of the
that's
house.
really cool. They look like a mirror like that. Nice.
It gets a little inconvenient because they can get into each other, but
Yeah, interesting. Because your chair kind of masks just the area that is asymmetric. Hey, Van, what's going on? Why aren't you? Yeah, cool. All right, that's great. Hey, is this a private tab? Is this Chrome? Hey, Van, is this Chrome?
I don't think his mic is working, or he's muted.
Yeah. Someone has to get in touch with him.
He's trying to figure it out right now.
All right,
Looks
okay.
like he's figuring it out.
I don't think it's a private tab. So Command Shift N. Is this a Windows or is it Windows? Okay, Control Shift N should Control Shift N should get the. Maybe I'll wear my because of font sizes. Maybe I'll wear the other glasses.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Technical difficulty. I think I got a private window up.
Yeah.
I think you guys can see that, right?
Are you sure this is private? How do you tell it's private?
It's with when there's a black outdrop. I just Control Shift N.
Yeah, so you have so many private tabs?
What was that? Oh no, wait. Oh, are you seeing the right one? Can you check again?
What I'm looking at is like
I don't think we're seeing a private tab.
Yeah,
right
9
now.
tabs. I'm looking at 9 tabs or something.
Oh, you're looking at 9 tabs. Okay. I have the private tab pulled up, but I think you're looking at the other one.
No, you can't have one private tab. You got to have an entire private window.
Oh no, yeah, that's what I have, a private window. But I think
maybe you're sharing the wrong one. You
yeah, I'm sharing the wrong one.
Yeah,
Okay.
unshare and then share the right one.
Gotcha. 1 minute. Give me a second. Okay.
Hey, Kylie, are you actually at Foothill right now?
Yeah, I have a class. I have calculus at 10, so I have to be on campus.
Yeah. Because I recognize behind you is probably KJ's, and then the KJ's. Yeah, there. Archery in front of you, and so it's kind of cool. Nice place. I like that. Yeah.
Let me just show that.
Yeah, that looks private. Yeah, that's cool.
All right, and yeah, okay, gotcha.
No, I think in here this is online GDB, is it?
Yeah, this was
No, this is what Keenan sent.
Yes, yeah.
Open another tab. Just go to online GDB for a sec.
Gotcha.
But the one that Keenan sent, does it have a compile button?
Let's see.
It has a play button.
It gives you a Linux
run
prompt.
button.
It gives you a Linux prompt at the bottom.
What?
It gives you a shell. It gives you a shell right there.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So do an ls there.
You say ls?
ls space -l.
Oh wait, it's not interacting.
Oh, it's not interacting. No, maybe you're not clicked in there. Did you bring a focus in there?
Yeah.
It's not interacting.
No,
Just go to online GDB for now, right?
Oh, I think someone else did it.
Oh, maybe it's Oh yeah, no,
Keenan,
ls
is that
no,
you?
no, ls no, ls space, it's actually working. So ls space dash l, ls space dash l.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. All right. Oh wow, wow. So in fact, cat space main.cpp, you should see student ID colon xxxxx. Cat space, and then type m and then tab m. Just type m and then tab. All right, autocomplete. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's a file. You can actually, you have a complete Linux, system, right? It's probably a virtual machine, but you still got a
cool.
machine right here. You can create multiple files and do these things. Except, I don't know, can you share this? Can everybody go in here and edit it? All right, so now, so you call yourself Anonymous Swan. Can you
Yeah,
give yourself
so
a name?
if I don't know if you can do names, but you can connect to it if you
Oh,
click
it's
the link in
doing
chat.
it like Google.
Yeah, it's like Google. I don't know, but let me see if you can actually like add your own name.
Yeah, it's not like Google, right? Because in Google, you should be able to log in and edit, and it'll tell you who's editing, right? Because now you don't have an option to log in at all.
I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Never mind. So I think you can say, all right, so you've got 15 different animals, okay? That's fine. All right, so each of you know who you are, okay? Each of you know which animal you are, I guess. What am I? Do I get something? Do I get to edit? No, I need to go to an area, or I need to go to a browser and edit. Okay. Well, anyway, so maybe Van can be my helper, so I can just say what I'm. Yeah, thank you, Van.
Cool.
Great. Okay. All right. So let's create an empty main here with a hello world. So let's say on the next line, you say on the next line, go on to the next line. So even though Van is the only one typing.
Oh, I'm not actually. I think Keenan, is that you?
Who's typing?
Yeah, that's me right now.
Okay, I freaked me out for a second.
Keenan, okay, so you guys have to coordinate, okay? But eventually, everybody has to type. Everybody has to
Swan.
type. Everybody has to type eventually. So Keenan, you're a Swan.
Yeah, I believe I'm Anonymous Swan.
Yeah, because it got kind of highlighted, not highlighted, the tooltip kind of flashed in and out, pink, yeah, Anonymous. There you go. Okay, so what you can do, Keenan, is just create, go on to the next line, a couple of blank lines, right? After student ID, go on to the next line, hit enter. Oh, I see, your focus is in the shell. Click onto the, white part. Yeah, there, click there. No, yeah, okay. Now,
One
yeah,
second,
okay.
I'm gonna drag Zoom into its own, because I have two monitors. I'm gonna drag it over onto my other monitor really quick, because it's when I tab like out of it, it kind of like removes my.
So, Professor, I don't know if we all can actually edit within the
Oh, can you not?
Yeah, it says read only for me.
Oh, I see.
Let me see if
Try online GDB. Try go to the other tab. Go to onlinegdb.com.
Yeah. What's the name?
Onlinegdb.com. Onlinegdb.com.
GDB.
Onlinegdb.com. Oh, you have to open a new tab. Yeah, there. Onlinegdb.com.
Is this it?
Onlinegdb. Actually, just hit enter right there. I don't know if it's .com. Just hit enter.
Gotcha.
No, don't type .com. I don't know if it's .com. No. Maybe you went to a private site. No, it looks like legit. Okay.
Okay.
Now there is something here called share. Okay, that orange button right on top of your mouse.
Yeah.
I think that should share that.
Gotcha.
All right, just share that in the chat window, and let's see if Zane or Keenan can click on that.
Yeah, so I think for this one, you have to like share it by email to be an editor. So
right. So you can just paste that in chat, right? You can copy that and paste that in Zoom chat.
Now that I'm sharing the screen, how does
No, on. Oh, I see. If you just go to the bottom, you should see chat. Zoom chat.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Now let's see if Zane or Keenan can edit this file. This is actually cool that we're laying the groundwork here, because we can follow the same format for all of the future classes too. So Keenan, are you Keenan? Who's trying? I don't know. Zane?
What's up? Oh,
are you getting into this file?
I'm on the website.
I just loaded it. I'm trying to see if I can edit.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's not letting
You
people
can
edit.
fork. You can fork like the file, but I don't think you can like do a live edit.
I see. Okay, how about this? Okay, just to stay here, all things. I think Van is going to have Van or whoever is editing this file right now. Who's editing this file right now? Van.
I got the
Who's controlling this file?
come again?
Who's currently controlling this file? Who's editing this file? Who has edit permission for this file?
For the GDB, probably. I think that's me. Yeah.
All right. Let's go to that other thing that Keenan sent, because at least there you don't have these annoying ads. The other tab,
Gotcha.
first tab.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get. Oh, I already closed that tab. Let me reopen it.
No, he's got it in the other tune. Hey, no, don't do anything. Yeah, there you go. So this is the one you shared. Yes, Keenan?
Yeah, but the thing is, with this one, I'm pretty sure not everyone can edit it unless
No, that's okay. I don't want everyone to edit it.
Okay.
I'm just saying
Oh,
that.
actually, wait. I can set everyone to editor.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Cool.
But even if not, that's fine, right? So I think what we're going to do is, Van, do you
Yeah,
have
it works now. It works. We got it.
your all right. So if anyone is not able to type in here, all they need to say is, hey, Van, can you write for me? Okay. And then you write under your comment. Is that okay, Van?
Yeah, that works perfect.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So let's create an empty main there. And in fact, we're going to build this up. Okay. So we're going to say int main. Oh, many people are editing at the same time. Okay, so we've got to coordinate initially. So not in the same place. You can edit in different places. Okay. So yeah. All right. So don't say hi and all. Right. So just say int main. And I'm going to explain these things. Okay. Now these tooltips are getting in my way. People are typing. I can't read. Hey, Van.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Keenan, just make it read only for everyone. Okay.
Read only. Okay.
Yeah. I think only Van should be able to edit it.
Van, what animal are you?
I think I'm the penguin. I think.
No, Van. Van is penguin. Okay. So you're swan.
Wait, I'm swan?
No. Yeah, Keenan is swan.
Okay.
You're penguin.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, we don't have a
All right.
request.
I think only Hey is editor.
Sure.
Yeah, great. Okay, so int main. Yeah, you can remove the who's typing the FDs, right? Get rid of the blank line. Yeah, get rid of it. And so this is what we need. Okay, so int main. After int main, put open parentheses, close parentheses immediately after. Okay, this is everybody should be doing that. Only Van is doing it on screen, but you should be doing it either on a notebook. So this is the first few programs. You can just do it on a notebook. Okay, you don't need to type it in. Because if you do it on a notebook, you're going to have the same effect. Okay. Hey, who's typing FF and all those things? And ostrich. Why is ostrich able to edit this? Right? Only penguin and swan should be able to edit it.
Let me check. They should.
I think it might still be open. I don't know.
Yeah, it's still open.
Ostrich says viewer. That's weird. I guess just like give it a second.
Who's ostrich, by the way? Who's ostrich? Nobody's ostrich? This link is floating around. Some random people are editing.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
How do you check to see what you are?
At the top, it's like the first one.
Oh, okay.
It's like a light green.
Mine's pink, so it's like it's
Yeah,
different.
okay, yeah, that's not me.
Oh, I see. See, many people are still able to access it. This is the pink ostrich and then orange something. And you also have a run button, by the way. So in fact, it does actually compile and run for you.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. Okay. So Beaver. Okay. Hey, please, guys, don't use your keyboards now, okay? Because it's kind of obscuring the text and I can't read stuff. Okay. So only Van, you should be the only one who's editing. Okay. So after that, after your closing parentheses, space and then left curly brace. Okay. Left curly brace, space and then left. This is style that I follow, not necessarily yours, but you should just pick one that works for you. and symmetrical, hopefully. It's symmetry, as I think, right? This is, again, my personal feel is that symmetry and form are very useful for living lazy lives, okay? Because if it's symmetry, you can predict a lot of things and you can do let your mind do the work of saying, okay, it's got to follow this particular formula. This is how it's got to fall, okay? If it's asymmetric, if it's not rule-based, then you got to engage your mind and say, what's going to happen next? I got to figure it out. There must be parameters that I don't know. Let me go and find out, right? So we as humans don't want to do any of those work, that work, okay? We are people who know how to be happy, right? They don't want to do any extra shit. So they just want to say, okay, anything that can be done, anything that doesn't need to be done. So what we want to do, I don't know how we got started talking about that, but essentially, I don't know how we should start. All right, so space and then curly brace. All right, maybe it'll come back to me.
Gotcha. Space inside of parentheses?
Oh, space and curly brace. Space, where your cursor is. Whenever you say space, just assume that, you know, it's where your cursor is. Just type it as, right? I think that'll be very useful, because then anytime you're not feeling comfortable, you just put your mind on autopilot. And just, you know, translate what I say, and then you can be thinking about something else. Hopefully not too many times, right? Because every time when we're coding, we want to be on autopilot, right? Anyone who's coded, you know, knows. Sometimes we just want to get things done and then think about other things while we're doing this, because we know how it's going to fall. And if you're not presented with enough opportunities to do that when you're programming will feel like a chore, right? And maybe many people will give up programming because they say it forces me to think all the time. No, it's not like that, right? You say when you're learning to dance, when you're learning to sing, it feels like a chore because everything is, you know, you have to put a lot of effort into it. But when it stops feeling like a chore, is that, you know, all of the things that take effort becomes automatic. Then it can just happen, and then you can observe it and take pleasure in the predictable pattern, because you say everything is just happening as it should be, so I don't need to worry. Okay, then you can feel happy. All right. So that is the beauty of predictability. So in your code, spaghetti code is very hard to follow because you got to keep your mind engaged all the time. You got to track things and so on, right? Where if it's beautiful, laid out, everything is symmetric, and you know what your program is going to do next, then you only need to read half the code to figure out what the rest of the half is going to do. Yeah, so that is a mark of a good programmer. And I think so. Let's do whatever comes naturally to you. Just be, you know, predictable in some way, and I think your fellow programmers will appreciate you greatly for that. Okay, so enter there a couple of times. So create some space there. Enter right there. Hit enter a couple of times.
What?
You know what? I think I heard. It's a funny thing. Okay, I heard the keyboard when Van typed the enter key. I heard it, but it's not happened on screen. Or maybe it hasn't happened.
Oh, so you can see it's delayed for you?
No, it's exactly the same. Nothing has changed.
Oh, online.
And it can be Zoom. I bet it's not Zoom. Okay, I bet it's this site. This site.
I can see it on Zoom as like he has like 10.
I only see 4 lines.
Oh, really?
I only see 4 lines.
Try to
try refreshing for a second.
No, it's just Zoom. I'm inside of Zoom. I'm looking at his window.
Oh, you're looking at, oh.
I can everyone
now I see. Okay, now your cursor is moved down.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now I put all the spaces between the 2 curly braces. Okay, put those spaces between the 2 curly braces.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Because that's where your cursor was. I thought that's where your cursor was when I said enter, enter, right?
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. You want me to do it a couple times?
No. Click between the 2 curly braces.
Gotcha.
After your main, you have the curly brace, left curly brace and right curly brace on line number 2. On line number 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So put your cursor there on line number 2.
Okay, gotcha. Line number 2.
Line number 2 between the 2 braces. All right.
Yep.
Left curly and right curly. Just put your cursor there between the 2. Right. Not there. All right. No.
I'm gonna help you out for a second. I'm gonna help you out.
Take it all the way back.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Take it all the way back to where it was.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. Oh, like that?
No. But I think Keenan probably knows what I'm talking about. Keenan, you also have that.
I would say that again.
All right. So take the curly braces right up to main, like it on line 2. Don't worry, Van. Van, don't go away. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So just putting it back to where you had before. I think there is an issue with the software. Okay. I don't think it's you guys. There's some lag, some crazy lag here. Okay. All right.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is where you are, Keenan. Can you recognize it? Okay. Oh, all right. Okay. So he's put some spaces already. Okay. But before he put the spaces, that's where you were.
I
Okay.
think you're. I think you're.
Cursor, what I
I think-
saw in my the cursor.
Professor,
was
I think you're getting a really delayed version of the screen share.
I think so. I think that is really messing with us. We'll have to figure out a better solution.
If it's if it's a software problem or problem with the website, we could we're not actively editing at the same time. We could just
In that case, let's just go to
any of
online
those.
GDB. Just do Command A, Control A there, Control A right there. Control A.
Control A.
Hit Control A, Control A.
Yeah, hit Control A.
He did. I think he just wants you to copy paste it into online.
Yeah, copy
GDB.
paste that into online GDB.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Copy the whole page and then go to online GDB. Maybe you already have it there. Who knows? Right?
Okay, gotcha.
Just
And,
click on the other tab. Well, let's forget about this, right? Just go to the other tab. Go to online GDB. Just go to the other tab. Forget about this. Don't forget about copy paste. Hey, you actually have it right there.
Yeah, I got it.
That's
right
really
there.
cool. Okay, this is your basic program ready for you. Now, if you click the run button, just click the run button. Make sure it
All right,
works. Okay, yeah, run it, and you'll see
wait,
a console open up somewhere. Where's
let's
the
see
console?
this.
Maybe a console somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the console? Oh, you what happened here? You deleted everything. Where's the print hello world? You pasted everything?
Oh no, I copy pasted the other one. I think you're still seeing the delay.
Never mind. Don't do anything. Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Go to line number 12 between
Line number
the
12.
two curly braces. Click between the line. Click line number 12. Click between the curly braces.
Yeah.
Your cursor should be flashing there.
It is. Yeah, it is.
All right. Hit enter. Hit enter.
All right.
No, it's not.
I
Why
got
aren't
about
you
like
able
2
to edit
lines of
that
space
file?
now.
Hmm?
I got
It's
about
not
like 2
editing.
lines of space between the curly braces.
Wow. Okay. I think this is what's going on, Van. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not an issue with the software. It is not an issue with anything else. But
I'm
you know,
pretty
other
sure
students
it's
are able to see
Zoom.
it, but I can't. I can't see it. So
So in case
I
it's
thought
my
maybe-
Wi-Fi.
I can't see it also. I'm
Oh,
seeing the
really?
same
Okay,
thing as
yeah.
you,
Okay, so
Professor.
in case it's me, then
It's
Keenan,
not you. It's
like-
not.
I can
It's not you.
No,
It's,
I can see it on
It's the
Zoom.
internet. It's
I
it's
can-
the internet from your place. Okay.
I can see it on Zoom like fine, like live.
Now I can see it. Now I can see it. But this is like
Okay,
what,
gotcha.
5 minutes.
Sean, can
after.
you see it too?
I'm seeing it lagged. At
It's
the
lagging
same
for
time
you
as
too?
the
Okay.
professor's seeing it.
That's really.
Hey Van, type your name. Just type your name. Bam, like that.
Gotcha. Okay, bam.
See, I can see his name right now.
I can't.
I
see his
can't.
name.
I can't see
I
it
can-
either.
Yeah, it's it. Okay, I guess
I'm
Keenan's
able
got
to
you
see
guys.
That's strange.
That is
Okay,
weird.
so it's yeah, it's like it is.
Yeah,
a
it's a
total
pretty
surprise that
strong
we
lag.
managed to survive until now, right?
So we figured it
this
out,
kind of
okay.
lag. So it's, all right, Keenan, right?
Yes.
Okay, can you share your screen? I think you have a better
Yeah,
connection,
sure.
right?
I'll try. Let me open private
Gotcha.
tab really quick.
Anyone who has a better connection doesn't have to be Keenan, okay? Zane, whoever, okay?
Mm.
Obviously not Kylie because she's doing it on a phone. Do you have a laptop out
She
there?
gets a treat.
Yeah, I'm on my computer.
You are on your computer?
Yeah.
So you plugged into one of those, they have outlets by the wall.
No.
You have outlets around you. You got to look, but you actually have power outlets there. Because I've seen students sit there in summer all day long with things plugged in. Anyone can take the screen, okay? Brittany, Keenan, okay, Keenan's taking the screen. Great.
Can you see it?
I can see it. Now let's
Okay.
see if we struggle as much. All right, so
All right.
good. So just put a bunch of spaces there, blank lines.
Edit and read only editor.
Are you there
I
in the
think-
file?
Let me make sure. It says I'm on read only right now or something. I think I might have accidentally hit something to put me in read only.
I see. Well, you just go to online GDB.
Oh,
feed,
actually,
okay?
wait. I think.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right. And
Let me open a new one.
here, if you compile it, if you run it now, just hit run, and you should have a console open up somewhere. Where is the console? Let's figure out.
Oh,
where the
it just
console-
wants me to go into right here.
Yeah, what was there before? There was an ad there before, right?
No. It was just asking me what language it wanted me to put it in.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I thought I saw an ad. Okay, so you see that it actually works. Okay. And in fact, if you think about it, this is really most of your first quest. Okay. This is the very first quest you got to do. This is 90% of it, not 100%. Okay. It's like 0.917%. I think if I'm not mistaken, as you'll find out. All right. This is very close to your first quest success. What this means is that when, so at the very top, forget about using namespace standard, okay? Get rid of that line for that now, for now, get rid of the line.
This one?
Yeah, get rid of the line. And we won't go into this level of detail, right? Further, later on, only this class. And in fact, let's get rid of IOStream also. Right? Well, so let's start with an absolute blank slate, okay? Now, and also get rid of cout and return, right? Now we're going to build it up. Now we've seen it working. Let's just build it up from start, okay? And so this is our template, okay? This is what is called the entry point of a program. Because when you have your program and you run it, the program has to start somewhere, right? We have a set of instructions, it has to start somewhere. Now, you could have some kind of an agreement saying that my program is always going to start at the first page. Yes, that's possible. You write a series of instructions to a friend and say, this is a series of this first page is what you got to follow. There's no reason that the first page has got to be the first page. In fact, if you go to the Middle East, I bet they say the last page is the first page because they read from right to left. No, actually, that's not true. But but there's no reason it's got to be one particular order. Yes, so it could be anywhere, as long as you know that once I go to that starting point, from there, that will tell me what the next thing to do is. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and that is so beautiful because when we say that, I can now have a finite size notebook, but still do something that is infinitely long in time. Yes or no? Because if I had to follow things, this is the first page and then go like that, bam, 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 the notebook's going to run out at some point. Yes. However,
I'm a little confused.
Sorry, yeah, who is this? Sean?
Yeah, this is Sean. I'm a little confused.
Right. So if I gave you a notebook, right, of instructions, Sean, you got to give me some feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. If I gave you a notebook of instructions, and I said, if you follow these instructions step by step, right, one page at a time, you'll get what you want.
Yeah.
Right. You know for sure that if you follow them one by one, you'll run out of pages eventually because it's a finite size notebook.
Right.
And so you know that it'll complete all of them in finite time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, good. I want all of us to be on the same page here, okay? Because now, let me take that one step further, okay? This is a very key step, all right? This is the key step, and it's to do with this, what you're doing right now, is that I'm going to say, I want to make this abstraction that says that the first page is not the first page. Now, what does that give us, right? That gives us incredible power. That says, now this is a notebook in which any instruction can be the first page, right? Any page can be the first page. However, it will tell you what the next page is. It's not going to be the page after that. It'll just tell you what the next page is. Now, all of a sudden, with that minuscule change, you now have the ability to run an infinite number of instructions. Yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because now you can just keep jumping around in a loop even. And you don't have to leave the notebook ever. Okay, so that is the way we can think of main. Main is the entry point in a program and does not need to be the very first instruction. Okay, but we just need to be able to tell the programmer, the CPU, this is where you start. Okay, and once you start, main will tell you where you need to go from there. So that is the contract or the agreement that C++ starts with. Okay, it's the very first thing that we need to, and other programs also we use that, right? In Java and not in Python, obviously, right? So, but Java, many other languages use this concept of main as the entry point, right? And so other languages will say, well, anything that just starts at line 0 is our entry point. Okay, different conventions. In C++, we say main is our entry point. Okay, so if you have a function that has a signature main like that, right, and returns a value of integer type to the operating system, right? That's where your program is going to start. Okay, now what do we want this program to do? Let's say that we want this program to just say, hi, I'm Keenan, or something like that, hello world, or something like that. So inside of this program, inside the curly braces, let's say I want to say, just write the word print hello, right? Print hello, right? So type on line 3, say print hello. Right, now, it's, in other languages you may write like that. So, but in C++, there's a syntax, right? And that's what we want to get familiar with in the first couple of classes. So there's a few things that we just need to get used to, and it's only very few things. That's the beauty of C++ is that, it seems really hard, but all of the hardness is on the surface. So just to keep the outsiders out, right? But once you get past the hardness, it's all very soft and easy inside because everything else is just plain sense, right? And so people think it's hard by looking at the rough exterior, but it's not. So that's all we need to master in the first couple of weeks, and then it'll be quite easy, right? It's all just logic, everything you're used to since kindergarten, right? So here, instead of print, we're going to say C out, right? And the reason we chose the word C out is C comes from console and out comes from output, right? You can also have console input, that's a keyboard, right? So you have two special variables that have been created by the C++ designers, not part of the language. Okay, these are not part of the language, it's part of the library. So language is basically how things work, right? How things can be put together. That is what C++ is. But the language by itself is like being given a CPU. You go to Fry's and buy one of those Intel Pentium chips. What can you do with it? Right? Nothing. Right? So you got to take it home and put memory around it and build a lot of things around it. Then you can do a lot of things, right? So the language itself doesn't give you a great deal of stuff. But what you get is that once you get the language, the C designer said, well, you got to do a lot of stuff after you got this in order to get it. So here's a CPU, but we're also going to build a whole lot of stuff around it, like Dell, right? And now with this, you can build a lot of stuff. So with the language, they also gave you a whole bunch of routines. They're called library routines, pre-written for you, because you're going to be doing them anyway. That is the only difference, right? Lots of people think that things like cout and namespace, well, maybe namespace, right? The cout, many things they use in C++, they think it's part of the language. No, it's actually part of stuff that people have built and are providing for free with the language, okay? That distinction needs to be very clear in our minds, because when you use things like cout and operators like this and so on, right? For printing things, all stuff that people have done like us, right? And become very popular. C++ itself as a language, as a core, is really strong and very stable, right? It just says you can do whatever you want. This is a framework, okay? And then lots and lots of frameworks have been built. Some are popular, right? And taken off, even, assumed as part of the language now. But some, people just think it's language, but it's not. Everything works beautifully and seamlessly. That is the beauty and power of C++, right? Not many, well, there are standards, but it's more cohesive, unlike many other languages. Okay, so cout is saying console output for me, this thing, and cout is an object, right? It is a thing. It is something that you will be creating, not cout itself. Things like that you'll be creating 6 lectures from now, right? You'll be creating 12 lectures from now, right? You'll be creating things like this. But cout is an object. It's already been created for you. Okay, you're going to take that and use that and say cout is my object. It's basically a pipe. Cout is a pipe. Okay, think of cout as a pipe. Okay, it's an object, a pipe that's been manufactured for you by some pipe manufacturer, cout, right? And that pipe has one end connected to your screen, and the other end is what you're going to stuff things into. All right, that's all. Now the thing is, after you stuff things into the pipe, it'll send it to the screen, and it'll give you the empty pipe again, so you can keep stuffing more into it. That's the way in which cout and the operators have been designed. Okay, and you'll get to design all of this too. So here's what we're going to do. So cout and then say left shift. It's called left shift operator. Okay, it's 2 less than. Yeah, I know. Don't type out, right? Type 2 less than signs. Yeah, it's called left shift. You type in 2 less than signs. Less than. I think it's shift. Yeah, shift comma. Right, and then space. And by the way, spaces are not necessary. I just use them because of aesthetics, and you may come across other styles too, right? And within quotes, you can say hello world, right? Within quotes, you can say hello world. Okay, now what that says is that I want a string called hello world, and you will revisit what a string is millions of times between now and CS2B, so many times, because there's a lot of subtlety going into that, right? Because you know that the string is basically a sequence of ASCII characters, and you know what ASCII characters are because you did data representation last week. Yes, ASCII characters are individual characters, like A value 65, B value 66. Each one is a byte value, 65, 66, 68, and so on. So each one of those is a letter. H is a letter, and it has a value, a byte value, 8-bit value. So all of these values stored one after another in sequence in memory constitute a string, right? And in C++, there are a string of characters. If you can terminate them properly with a null, it's a sentinel, saying that's the end, no more after that, right? If you do that, it's a properly terminated string, and that's what hello world is, okay? It's a string constant, okay? And don't worry if you don't remember too much of this, but I can assure you that as long as you weren't listening to something else, these exact same words will basically resonate with you maybe a couple of months down the line, okay? When you're actually working with strings and string constants and pointers, you'll know exactly what this is, okay? and that's so. And then we want to say that's the end of this particular line. You can say semicolon there, okay? Or if you don't want to say, you can say more. You can say instead of the semicolon, say space, another less than sign, another left shift, another yeah, like that, and then you can put one more string in there. So another string there, right there, okay, and say something else. And say I am Keenan. Hello world, I am Keenan. Right now, right, and then you want to say that's the end of the line. You want to say /n at the end, or you can say one more left shift operator at the end, one more left shift operator at the end, and you can say end L, right? So there's all components I'll explain right now. Space, and then left shift 2 times. Yeah, the left shift once, and then end L. Okay. Now there's a whole bunch of things. And little L, is it little L or small L? I know. Yeah, I think it looks like capital L. Yeah. Right. Semicolon. Right. Semicolon says that's the end. Right. I don't have any more coming in. Now what happens is that C out is a pipe. All right, and the 2 less thans indicate where the pipe is open. So you can think of it as the open mouth of a crocodile, or a pipe with an open mouth, right? In fact, when I was a very small kid, right, far younger than you guys, in school, I was trying to understand less than and greater than, right? Second grade or something, and I took it to my cousin, and she was trying to explain, help me deal with some math homework. And she said, and she was an arts graduate. Okay, she had no idea of math and anything, or anyway, formal math like that. And so I asked her for help with my math homework, and she took a look at it, and she said, "Oh, it's very simple. These little angly things here, they're like crocodiles, and they're pointing towards whichever place has more food, right?" And so whatever has more, the crocodile points towards that, and that's how I learned greater than and less than when I was a kid. And later on, I learned that that's not really the reason, but it actually just stuck, right? And so many years later, it still came back to me. And I can visualize the scene and her telling me that, and it's also interesting, isn't it? So like that, it's I keep saying less than, but it's actually left shift operator, okay? And 2 less than signs like that. And so yeah, so C out with a pipe that's open, right? Like an alligator mouth, right? Pipe that's open, and you're saying hello world, take hello world and stick it down the mouth of that pipe, okay? Goes to the console, to the screen, okay? What have you got? You still got the open mouth of the pipe, yes? Because the hello world went down the pipe. So you can still stick more into it, yes or no? So you're gonna stick one more string. Okay, so you're gonna say, I am Keenan. Okay, is that enough? Well, you want to say one more. So I want to say, that's the end of the line. Give me a blank carriage return. Go to the next line there, or else it's going to stay right there. And anything you type will just run into the end of that, right? So end L is end of line. Okay. Now these guys, C out and end L, they're actually objects. They're things that have been defined for you.
Professor, is end L the same as a semicolon?
No, end L actually says stick in ASCII value 10, which is new line character. New line means going to the next line, new line, not the old line, new line. Yeah, so end L is actually saying that's the end of this line, go to the new line, but it does some other things, right? It does some other niceties, like if there's a line that has been sent to the console, but it's actually not showing on the console, it's just being held in memory waiting for a signal, just flush it to the console. So it does all those nice things too. So end L is actually a complex object which actually embodies that new line character. This says go to the next line, but also does other things like flush and so on. Does that make sense?
So that's from a library, just like C out.
Yes, yes. Just like C out, it is from the standard library. All right. C out is also in the standard library. It's that pipe that has been made for you. Otherwise, you would have to do it, right? You would have to. You can do it in C++. You can get the specifications of the Mac and the screen and device drivers and understand how to, send the right calls to the device driver through the operating. You can do all of that, right? It'll just take you several days.
And
everybody who has to program in C++ has to do it.
Can you technically still type on that line though after end L?
Totally. After the semicolon, you can type, right? Not after the end L. So once you put a semicolon, so the semicolon says that's the end of this line. Right? Keenan hasn't typed the semicolon yet, but if you put the semicolon there, right? Yeah, well, people usually don't put a space before the semicolon, the last semicolon, right? Yeah, okay. So once the semicolon is there, that's it. That's a unit. Then you can start typing on the same line if you want. But if you don't put the semicolon,
so I'm confused. What is the reason for putting end L and the semicolon? As opposed to just
all right.
one.
So
or the
why don't
other?
we get rid of the end L, right? And run it before, and get rid of the end L and just put the semicolon. Just put the, no, you can't have a, you can push a semicolon. Semicolon is not a, semicolon is basically a signal to the compiler, right? It's not an object. Semicolon is not a variable or an object you can push into a pipe, right? It's just a signal to the compiler saying whatever is before me is what you got to push into the pipe. So you have the open mouth of the pipe, and then you have a semicolon. That means, the pipe is open and there's nothing being pushed into the pipe, and you're saying there's no more. That doesn't work, right? So you need to push something into the pipe and then say that's it. Right, so you can, before the semicolon, you can push something there, or you can just get rid of this the less than, the two less thans altogether, or get rid of the end L and the two less thans and run it, and don't run yet because it's still missing something, right? Now what it would do is just say print everything except it won't go to the next line. Is everybody okay with it so far, right? However, these two things come from the library, but or one thing right now cout comes from the library, but we haven't told it where the library is. Right, so that library is, go right to the top on line one, and go to the top, the beginning of line one, hit enter a couple of times, and go to the very top again. Yeah, go to the very top again. Now what we want to do is we want to get from the standard IO stream, input output stream library, right? Meaning that I'm going to use a lot of streams that are going to do input and output. So IO stream. Can we remember that? Yeah, everybody has to remember that. Okay, IO stream. So you say hash include. And then angle bracket. Angle bracket means I'm going to pull something from what the C++ developers gave me, not something that I wrote myself. Okay, angle bracket means go from the system library. Okay, hash is within angle brackets. You say less than. No, not square bracket. Angle. No, it's actually less than. Yeah, and you're going to say IO stream. All right, and close angle bracket. Okay, and now what that means is that there is a file called IOStream somewhere that C++ designers have written, right? It's there in the system area. Go and fetch it. That will give you the definition of the cout object, okay, that I'm going to use. Yes. However, we still have to keep in mind that the library, that file, that it's called the header file, okay? It only tells the compiler, this is an object you can expect in the code, and this is how it's going to behave. But I don't know exactly how it's actually going to behave. So it's a very subtle point, okay? And you'll appreciate that in about 10 weeks time, okay? What that says, that header file says, and it's very beautiful, isn't it? It's very beautiful. So and it says there is a function, there is a thing called cout, okay? That the inventors of C++ have created so that people can use C++, and they've stuck it in that library, and it's really complex. And does a lot of things, and it cannot be shrunk to a level that can be included in the small header file that the student or the programmer is going to include, but it's out there somewhere. But I know how it's going to behave. Okay, I don't know the details of how it's going to do it. I don't know the detailed instruction set, but I know how it's going to behave. And the way it's going to behave is that it is going to look like a pipe, right? And it's going to take input on one side, and then it'll return something back, right? Those are the only things I know. I don't know how it does it, and I'll trust that it does it that way, okay? Meaning that it's going to treat that cout object as a black box with 100% trust, saying if I stick something into it, it's going to come to the console. I don't know. I just put it into a pipe, and that pipe could be traveling through a singularity, a black hole, and emerging in a different universe. Who knows, right? Forward through time and backward through time, and so it all appears instantaneous. Who knows, right? But you don't know. All you know is that if I put something in there, it comes out the other way, right? And we think it's almost happening instantaneously, right? I don't know. Does this all make sense?
Professor, I have a question.
Yeah, Kylie, yeah.
For line 5, where it says cout, and we have the left, like the less than signs, do we not need to close them with like greater than signs?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. No, you don't have to close them, because in C++, and the less than there and the greater than, they have multiple meanings, right? Sometimes they're used as brackets, like up in the line 1, where you use them as brackets, that's different meaning altogether. C++ can look at where you're using the things and give them appropriate meanings. Here, they're just used as an operator, like plus or minus. Combine them together, and yeah, ideally it would have been better if it was not a doubled up thing, right? Maybe if they had chosen something like I don't know, instead of two less thans, maybe if they had chosen tilde sign or something like that, right? Then it would be just one thing. Now it looks like there's two things, and now it's actually just one thing, like a plus or a minus. Does it make sense? Is that better?
So it's kind of like so I'm kind of confused. So it's like the C out, and then it's just saying, is that like a print statement? Pretty much, that's like print.
Yes, it is exactly a print statement.
Okay.
And that's why we said print hello world first at first. I think Keenan erased that. You can actually put that back in a comment so that we can say that's what we're trying to do. In fact, above the cout statement, Keenan, put a comment there, and inside the comment say in the following line, we're going to try and print something to the screen, okay, using the cout object, which is basically a pipe that is connected to the screen. And then the less than, two less thans, and let's also say that in a comment so that people who are just looking at the video muted, right, and they can still look at your code and see what you're doing rather than have to listen to me. Yeah. So attempting to print something to the screen. Yeah, no need to close close because, yeah, actually you can say on the same line, no need to close because in this context it is working like a plus or minus operator. Does that make sense? Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now here's the thing. Now what this operator, you can write it in different ways. Okay. Now let me write it in a way on the next line. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. On the next line, I'm going to write it in a way which is not C++. However, this is what it's going to do, right? On the next line, yeah, on the next line, before the cout, let's do it the wrong way so that we'll know what it's trying to do. Right? Go to the next previous line. Yeah, there. Enter. Hit enter. Okay. Now we're gonna try and write this. We're gonna say console underscore output, right? Console underscore output. Or you just say print, right? Let's just say print. So forget it. So just say print, right? And then open your yeah. Let's just do the cout. No. Let's not use that anymore. Open parentheses. Open parentheses. Yeah, parentheses. All right. The first parameter is saying print to the console, right? So you're going to say cout there, cout, say cout, right? Comma. And then say hello world within string, right? Say hello world there, right? And then put a semicolon after that. Now this is what we're trying to do, saying that I want to print the world hello. I want to print hello world, and I want to print it to the console. In fact, let's change the cout to console. Just change the word cout to console. Okay, so this is what we're trying to do. Yes, this is not C++, right? So you can actually comment that out. So this is not C++. This is what we're trying to do. Is everybody on the same page so far? Okay, now here, what we're trying to do here on the next line, we're going to go from there more like C++, a little more like C++. Okay, on next line again within comments, on the next line within comments, we're going to say, yeah, enter there. Okay, here what we're going to say is that word print. You see that the word print. Let's not use the word print. Instead of the print, my function is going to have a weird name. That name is double less than. Okay, it's going to use less than, and then open bracket and everything. Open bracket. Yeah, instead of print. Okay, and now write again on the next line. You say on the next line you yeah, exactly the same as 7, except the word print, instead of print you have that thing. Say
that again.
Copy and paste line 7. Copy and paste line 7 on line 9. Yeah, paste it there. And then yeah, change the print into yeah. All right. Now, because double less than is a, b, x, y, just 2 letters. It's just a function. Is everybody okay with that? Right? I think that is a biggest disconnect that beginning students could have, is to look at that double less than and output operators and think that's something special about them, right? Nothing special. They are just functions. right? Instead of double less than, you could have called them XY, AB, FOO, right? You could have called them Zane, whatever, right? Kylie, you can call these things anything you want. It just so happens that if I call them with a word, my C++ code will get cluttered. So I'd rather use a non-alphabetic letter, like, plus or minus, and that's why it's double less than. It is just a function like any other. In fact, you will be surprised on the next line. Yeah, hit enter. Right. Another comment. Yeah, here you say plus. All right, open parentheses. 4,5, right? Right, two numbers there, 4,5. All right, and then what that is call the function whose name is plus and give it two parameters, the operands 4 and 5, and the result is what plus returns. Does that make sense? Everything is a function. Everything is a function. Plus, minus, everything is a function that you can define.
So, Professor, what happens if you get rid of the second pair of crocodile mouths?
I'm sorry.
If you get rid of the second pair of less than in
you mean
112.
here? Yeah. All right. Okay. So what Zane is saying is very interesting, isn't it? And I think it's kind of deceptive. It's of C++, right? Because it is likely to confuse beginners. Okay. What Zane is saying is that what if you said hello world and then without the two less thans again, no comma even, just say I am Keenan. After that, another quotes, another string right there. Within quotes, I am Keenan, but just the same as line 12, except without the second less than. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, I'd rather we didn't go down that route, but since you brought it up, what's going on here is rather complex. What's going on there is that the C++ compiler looks at two strings next to each other. Yes? And the compiler is going to combine those two strings into a single string. Okay? So effectively, you're still going to see the same output as before. But it's confusing because in the second case, it was actually the compiler giving two things to the pipe and saying output these two things, one after another. But in the first case, the compiler combined those two strings and gave the pipe one thing to output. But you still see the same output. Does that make sense?
So it's the same product, it's just different inner working.
Different inner working, yes. Different way in which things happen. And that way, the way that Zane suggested is kind of misleading to many students in this context. Now, in other contexts, it's actually better to do it this way, right? I mean, in this context, it's misleading because, it's easier if you actually send the strings separately, one after another. Yeah? Does that make sense? So I also, there's other subtleties here that I don't even know that, because there's a precedence of operators. We talked about precedence. We haven't talked about, next week is when we talk about precedence, which gets run first, right? Because if we did it this way on line 11, like Zane suggested, maybe it works and maybe it doesn't. It works if the compiler is able to do the concatenation of two strings, juxtaposed strings, right? If it does that with higher precedence, then running the code for the operator. But if it says no, running the operator code is higher precedence than combining the two strings, then it's going to do output the hello world first, right? And then the result of that is a stream, not a string. And that stream, it's going to concatenate. But that stream cannot be juxtaposed with a string, and then it'll complain, right? So the compiler will be able to tell you right there if it works or not. You don't even have to go to the
question.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I was just wondering, so the end L is like a next line. So is it like a \n?
It is exactly like \n,
okay,
with a little bit more.
So could you do like right after hello world, right after the quotes, could you do an end L on line 12 and then continue with the next?
Yeah, try what Kaylee said. By the way, before doing what Kaylee suggested, let's clean up the comments so that, attempting to print something to the screen, take that and put it down below, because that's, we got a lot of junk after that. No, just the first line. Also maybe the second line, right? Maybe the second line. First two lines, and then, all right, and put it above line 11. No, above line 11, because that's what you're doing in line 11. Yeah, one more blank line there. Yeah, one more blank line so that we separate the experimental stuff from what we're actually trying to do. Not there. A blank line before attempting, before the. There you go. All right. Okay. Now, is everybody okay with this so far? Right. Now, what Kylie is saying is put an endl after the hello world. Is that what, Kylie? You should correct me, okay?
Yeah.
Put an endl right there. But Kylie, did you want to have a left shift operator before the endl?
Yeah, just like that is perfect.
Yeah. No, just like that. Okay, it's not going to work. You can try that. It's not going to. No, try that. Because you can't take my word for it. Okay. For anything, not just this. So it's not going to work, right? Because you got an endl. It's syntactically incorrect. Because for a pipe, this is the only thing. The pipe is beautiful, right? Because the pipe says, "I'm a pipe. Anything you give me, I will send to the console." Okay. It's faithful. It always does that. As long as we follow the contract is I can only send one thing to the console at a time, right? After I send that thing to the console, I'll give you the pipe back. Then you can send more things through the same pipe. That's fine. But what we just attempted to do there is, there's a pipe, and then we send two things through the same pipe before it actually did the first thing. So that is saying send the hello world and then the endl before the hello world came back. Does that make sense? Okay, so what the only way we can send an endl there is to say left shift and then an endl, right? Left shift there, left shift, yeah, two left shifts, yeah, right, yeah, two less thans, and then endl there, endl, and end line, right? And then you can have an endl after I am Keenan also, yeah, put an endl right there, right? No, you have to have anytime it has to be two, right? You have to left shift the endl, left shift the endl, left. And then put a space around the on before that too. All right. Now let's try one more thing. Let's remove because there's two endls, right? And endl does a little bit more than just /n, because /n is go to the next line, but endl says go to the next line and also flush, which is a few more compute cycles. And we know that in the intermediate case, in the middle endl, why should we flush? It's a waste. Right? So all we need to do is just push and then push the next thing and then final endl, then we can flush. Yes?
What do you mean by flush?
Flush means every time you send something into cout, it doesn't actually go to the console. Who asked the question, by the way?
That was me, Sean.
Sean, it's a very good question. Okay. Flush, we haven't even talked about flush. Flush means when you send something to cout, right? It doesn't actually immediately hit the screen. It is sitting in some memory area, okay, waiting to be sent to the screen. Why? Because writing to the screen is immensely more expensive than sending something to memory. Immensely, right? This is really, think about it, right? This is a CPU, there's a Mac, there's a CPU, right? And here's a CPU. And then the memory is right here. Now, inside the CPU, fine, right? Memory is here. Even to get to memory, that's your RAM. Even to get to memory, which is cheap, everything on the CPU needs to get on a bus. Right? It's not like on the CPU, everything is on the desktop registers, right? I do these things, right? But if I want to get to memory, I got to get on a bus and get to Trader Joe's, right? I get all the stuff, right? I want to make my cake and then take it and put it on my desktop, right? Now I don't need to go on a bus anymore. Everything is on my desk, and I make my cake. Okay, that is CPU. The CPU is your desk.
Is that why most I guess, I don't know, I've taken like a couple other programming courses. That why they tend to stay away from just printing to the console all the time?
Yeah. Printing the console, reading anything that involves users is a painfully slow thing, right?
Yeah.
You think of it from a computer's perspective, right? And also, right? So think about it now. Is just going to the memory is expensive, right? Not even talking reading the console. Going to the memory itself is expensive. So when you get to advanced programming, what you'll do is now you're trying to say let's minimize writes to the console. Right? But later on, you're going to say, let's even minimize writes to the memory. Let's try and write my program, which is really sophisticated, complex program. I'm going to architect it and write the program in such a way that everything happens in the CPU, right? And registers.
Yeah, that makes
right.
sense.
Not even the memory. Imagine that.
Yeah,
right?
just simplify it basically.
Yeah, it's simple. Speedify it. Right? So sometimes it also gets slightly more complex, but it gets in orders of magnitude faster. So it's really cool. Anyway, so I'm saying even getting to the memory is costly, right? But we still do it in our programs. Now you can imagine, right? In your CPU, you're talking about electrons, right? Electrons are so tiny. and because it's operating at the level of electrons, and then your memory is out there. And from our perspective, it's like a couple of inches, right? From the CPU, the electrons perspective, it is like I'm in the Milky Way and that's in Andromeda, right? Memory is in Andromeda. So it says I'm going to minimize any access to the memory. Now, the screen is a whole other, it's not even the same universe, right?
Yeah.
Out there. So it has to go through a device driver that knows how to talk to this other universe. So it has to talk to a black hole singularity, which knows to tunnel into the other universe. So that is even more expensive. So we say if ever, so C++ designers anticipated that. That's the beauty of it. And that is what flushing is. So flushing says in C++, is a very subtle discussion, and I'm glad we're having it. So maybe try and remember that, and, maybe summarize this in the forums for other people's benefit, because only a bunch of you are here. So what the designers said is that people are going to send a lot of stuff to the console, right? And we don't want programmers to be burdened with thinking, oh, is this too expensive? Should I flush it to the console? Should I wait? Should I wait? If they're going to be thinking about that, they're not going to be cutting good code, right? They're going to be worrying about the details. And the way to get people to cut good code is to get them as away from the detail as possible, so that they can think about sophisticated logic, right? So what the C++ designers said is that we'll take care of the flushing for you, right? We let the computer figure out when it is appropriate for whatever you send to cout to go to the screen. So trust us to receive everything from you and keep it in a holding area, okay? And we know when you need to send anything in the holding area to the screen. And as far as we know from all the prior data on our machine learning, right? As far as we know, anytime you send a new line to the screen, you want everything in the holding area to go to the screen, right? Until then, until you send a new line, I'll hold it in the holding area, okay? Another time when you want to send to the screen is when you want to read input from the console, or read from the keyboard. Then you want to make sure that the user has seen everything on the screen before they type it in the keyboard, right? So two places where cout will automatically flush for us is when it receives a new line, right? Or when you try to read from the keyboard, okay? So things to remember. Sometimes, so the other times, the cout says, no, I'm not going to flush because it's not inefficient. No, it's not like that, okay? Cout says, well, other times also, I'm happy to flush, but you got to tell me when to flush. These two places, I'm automatically flushing, okay? Other times, you got to tell me when to flush and I'll flush, okay? So there is a call. We're not going to go into that, okay? That's called flushing. So you can say in other places, flush the cout, okay? And it'll flush, and then, does that make sense? Okay, so that is flushing, Sean. Yeah, that is flushing the console. Endel will automatically flush. /n does not automatically flush. Well, sometimes it automatically does, but it's not guaranteed, right? Endel is guaranteed to flush. Yes? Okay,
kind of, yeah.
All right. All of this will make more sense as you code more, right? The thing is, it's just like in math. I can tell you, right? I cannot overemphasize the number of times I've repeated the same thing, okay? It's exactly like math in the sense that when you read through the proofs, how many of you, are some of you enrolled in math courses also?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can probably relate to this, right? Yeah, Kaylee, you're obviously going to a math course, right? In PSAC and all, right? So you relate to this. So before an exam or when you learn something new in math, there's a whole bunch of proofs you got to understand before you get to the final lemma or final proof, right? Lemmas and corollaries. So you got to understand these things, and before you go, now, what was I going with that? Okay. So when you're revising or reviewing stuff, right? Reviewing stuff before an exam or something, you look at all these proofs. Say, easy. Okay, easy. Now this is what I need to concentrate on. Okay, and that builds on all these things, right? And there's easy proofs. Now in your exam or somewhere, or maybe in a conversation, you have to prove something. Okay, you say, it's easy because it's because you went through all those proofs and you understood the proofs, but you actually didn't work them out yourself. Okay, this is this thing that has bitten me the most number of times in my student career. Okay, when I go through something and I think that I have understood it, because I do understand it. Yeah, totally understand it. When you read the proof, you understand it. Yes, obviously. So you read it and I understand it, and I move on, and I don't try it out myself. That is the number one mistake that I learned, that I made after many years of making that. Right. So fortunately, you haven't had that many years thing happen to you yet. But this is something that I have learned the hard way, is to say, even if I think I understand it, it's better to just work it out once. Because when you work it out once, you'll see that, okay, well, you did understand it that one particular way, but it could actually, you don't understand something until you understand it 100 different ways. Okay, so by working it out yourself, you'll see more than one way of doing this. Okay, and then it'll be super solid to you. And so programming is exactly like that. And now all of this makes sense, even what you're talking about and operators and everything. And you say, okay, well, I know all these operators, now I can go on to the more advanced quests. It does not work like that, okay? In my experience, okay? Until you have actually written a hello world yourself, right? A tiger, the fangs, all these initial quests. And you say, well, I'm good enough for CS2B, right? I'm just going to get the first password from someone, okay? And jump into CS2B because I got clearance. I just got a pass in CS2A with a C, right? It doesn't work because they actually did not personally solve those problems leading up. Each one of those quests, that is why they're all mandatory now. All right, so it actually helps you. All right, now so far, is everybody okay? We haven't run it, okay? So one more thing we need to do, right? Because C out and NL, they're objects in the library, okay? But they could also be local variables. So we got to tell the compiler that no, these are not local variables that I have. These are not objects that I have created. They are from the library. They come from standard, okay? So to do that, we're going to do two things, okay? Before C out, say STD and then 2 colons, STD and then 2 colons before the C out. Yeah, and do the same thing for each of the endls also, right? Because these are objects that we didn't create, right? Because if we didn't qualify them, it means that they are my variables. And then the compiler will say, hey, where are your variables? You said you're going to use C out and endl, but where are they? Right? And it won't compile. Now you're saying, oh, okay, well, I'm going to use 2 variables. They're not mine. They come from standard. Yes or no so far? Yeah, okay. All right, nobody's nodding or answering, but the important thing is,
Professor.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
Zane, you're saying yes.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have a question.
Can you repeat that part one more time?
Which part, Zane?
The talk about standard.
Oh, yeah. Okay. C out and endl, as far as this program is concerned, could be variables. It could be local variables. I could have int x, int y, a float a, double, right? You can have, some, character C out. So how does a compiler know that they are not your variables and they actually belong to the standard library? From there, I should go and pull those 2 because those are the guys that this Zane is referring to, the standard C++, standard C out, not his own C out, right? Okay. You got to tell the compiler that.
So even if you don't define the variables, you still have to do this?
I'm sorry?
Even if you don't define variables like cout or endl, you still have to refer to them as standard. Otherwise, it won't compile.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah. So the word even threw me off there. If you don't define those variables, this is not even going to compile. It's not going to work. Right? Because it's like, writing a program with 2 variables that you're using that you haven't declared. You try and compile it now. It's not going to work, right? It's going to compile. It's going to say, hey, what is cout and what is endl? I don't know what they are. Compile it now. Run it. It's not going to work, right? It'll say cout and endl. I don't know what they are.
No, it worked. You mean
because no, get rid of the standard. Get rid of the STD.
That's because we added the STD.
Yeah.
Earlier
Get rid of one of them. Get rid of one of them. You just need one error. Okay. So it'll say, I don't know what endl is.
Okay. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. And so see here, these are things we won't try, right? Like 10 years ago, we don't try these things. Like, Zane had a question and we just tried it immediately. Yeah. And how is it? Didn't cost us more than 5 seconds, actually, if you think about it, right? You said that and I said something and Keenan immediately tried that. Yeah. All right. So is everybody okay with this? Now, STD is part of the standard. Now, sometimes when you're writing code, you have many places where you're using cout, many places where you're using endl, right? And it's going to be a real pain to type STD : before every one of those. There's 5 extra keystrokes every time. And it's not even 5. It's actually 10. Think about it, right? Because no, it's actually 5. No, it's 5. No, there's 3 plus 4, 7 keystrokes, right? Because STD single keystrokes, but the colons are shift and then that. So it's 2 each. So it's I don't know. It's painful. So to get around that, we have a way. We can say, well, right at the top, okay, and don't do this in header files, only do this in source, and you'll know the reason for this very soon, okay? Right at the top on line number 2, right, hit enter on line number 2. Oh, Keenan, yeah. Enter, and you say using space, namespace, space, STD. I think there's a semicolon after that. I'm not sure. Put a semicolon and hit enter. Yeah, enter. Okay. So when you say that, the compiler will assume that if you have any variables that are unqualified, meaning no double colon thing in front of it, okay, it will automatically, before complaining, it'll go and look in there. Does that make sense?
So like with that, I could delete the.
You can get rid. You
STDs
can
and stuff.
delete the STDs now.
So let's see.
Now, can someone tell me a good reason why you should not put this standard, using namespace in a header file? A header file is where you say hash include right at the top.
I feel like it could, like it slows down the program because it would be searching back to here every time it sees something unrecognized.
Okay, all right. So that is using namespace is a slight compile time slowdown. I agree with that. Very, very slight, unnoticeable, really. But the real reason for not putting it in a header file is because a header file is basically written once and included by lots of people. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Now, suppose I want to use your header file, and I want a local variable called cout. But you've used namespace in the header file, so it's applying to everything that's including it. So your namespace is defined in my, is actually included, used in my source file, even though I didn't want using namespace by default.
Mm.
So that is the reason people don't put using namespace in header files. They only put it in source files. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know, these kinds of questions, I don't even know if you find answers for them in Stack Overflow, right? You can go to Stack Overflow and ask, right? Why don't people use namespace in header files? And you'll find a whole lot of conflicting answers too, unfortunately, right? But this, I think, is the real reason why people don't put.
So is that like an import? Is that what that is?
Is exactly like import, yeah.
Okay.
But import, who's that? Who asked that question, by the way?
Zane.
Yeah, I shouldn't say it's like import in Python. Are you talking about import in Python?
Yeah, sure.
What would you use in Java? Java is also import, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it is.
That was also, all right. So import does a bit more than using, okay? Using is only going to search for the name. But import says there is actually this library of code. Import that whole code in.
So it's like from this import or import, yeah, using, okay.
Yeah, so using is only a small part of the import.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Import does the whole thing. The import in C++ is split into two parts. One is a using part, which is it's the top 1% of import, which happens in the source file. And the 99% part of import happens during compile time. When you compile the code, when you hit run, it turns your code into binary. Then it goes and looks for the actual code. That is a 99% of the Python import. That happens that time.
Okay.
Yeah. Does it make sense?
That's good to know. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at that. We're past time and we never got a chance to do that big thing. But we've got to figure out, hopefully one of you, right, get together, not on Discord, okay? Just try and figure something out on Reddit, on the subreddit, figure out a solution where all of you can code in one window in different parts at the same time. And we want to avoid the problem where we have these tooltips obscuring code, like, ostrich over Keenan's cursor, right? And then there was this lag when Van was trying to code, his internet was like totally awful. And I couldn't see, and some of you could see and some others couldn't see, right? So we can't, hey, Van, you got to get to the bottom of the internet issue, okay? Before next class, pretty soon you got to have a connection that is stable and is responsive. All right, cool. Is everybody okay with what we've done so far? I don't think we managed to cover the ground that we planned to cover, which is basically that massive program, everybody writes that. We still have time to do that on Thursday, okay? Because next week we can start moving on to expressions and branching and looping. And then after that, it'll be really cool programming, okay? So it's gonna be some good stuff down the line, but we'll do that big ass program on Thursday. Are you guys coming back on Thursday? Right, because I did a whole huge drop off rate today. I don't know if you guys are gone or, well, there's no drop off on portal, right? You guys are still showing up as enroll, but a lot of you didn't turn up today. So you got to pass the message on to all of you somehow, right? Make sure, and that's the reason, right? If you split up into many groups, some on Discord, some on Slack, you found these, castes and families, and they all don't talk to each other. It starts becoming a mess. Okay, just stay in one place. Stay in one place, whether in STEM Center or, and all have your discussions in one place, and then you can all move forward. Okay, and get people together. Next class, I'd like to see a lot more of you code, and this, we shouldn't just have 15 chunks. Okay, we should have like 30 chunks, all of you coding at different places. And,
so how many
and
people
come up with
are
ideas.
enrolled in the course or for this section?
Sorry?
How many people are
Right
supposed
now,
to be?
let me see, right now, 35.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, 35 students, but
So-
there's only 15 of you, 15 of you here today. So I don't know what's going
Yeah,
on with the
wow.
rest of them. Because I know in the first few weeks, people are also trying to switch classes, right? And I told you before, that is the wrong time to be wasting in a class. If the students should not be thinking, oh, this is the week I'm going to get to choose between this class and that class. That is the worst possible week to choose. You should make your decision before you come, right? The first couple of weeks are the places where you get to wear your boots. After that, you're going to be on, hard soil, and that's the wrong time to be thinking.
Mm.
All right. Anyway, so I had fun in this class, even though unfortunately I did most of the talking.
I have
Right?
one more question.
Yeah, sure. Who is this?
So this is Sean.
Sean. Okay.
Yeah. So for the IO stream is just one of the many tools, right?
IOStream is a library. It's not just one of the many tools. It is a
Okay, so
library
it's
of
one of the
many
many libraries?
functions, many functions and objects that you
I
can
see.
use, right? Basically, IOStream is your Duplo box,
Okay.
right? So you go to, Toys R Us and come back with a box of Lego bricks. Each one of them is a different brick,
Right.
but it gives you a library of bricks you can use. All right. So in this box, you have a tree you can place here. Here's the Empire State Building, right? Here you can build a, Starship Cruiser or something like that. So you have all the different kinds of bricks that comes in a box. Without IOStream, you only basically have the basic Lego, right? And these basic bricks that you can place. That is your C++.
Okay.
And
So
then,
are there other libraries except for
yeah, there's
IOStream?
other libraries. We'll use a math library, but don't use a
Okay,
math
okay.
library, okay? Until quest number 4. Quest number 5, in fact, explicitly forbidden to use a math library in quest 4.
I see.
Because if you use a math library, you'll get different results from what you're
Okay.
going to be calculating. So there's a whole lot of libraries you can use, but let's not worry about any of those, right?
Okay,
Because
okay.
libraries
But-
will just come downstream. What we want to master now is just the mechanics of how to use a wrench.
Got it. So would you use STD for like a different library also? Like you would have to put
There's
like
other,
names.
there's a lot of functions which are in the STD library, like sorting, and even string is defined inside the STD library. We'll use them. We'll use them all.
Okay.
In
I
good
think
time.
he means like for other libraries, there would be other acronyms, right?
Oh, you mean other namespaces?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
there
use the
are,
same
there
thing,
are.
right?
There are other
Okay, okay.
namespaces. Yeah.
Got
In
it.
fact,
Thanks, Keenan.
I've been programming for a while, and it's very rare that I use other namespaces. Over 95% of my programs, if I had to use a namespace, it would be standard.
Okay. Thank you.
Professor, quick question. So I see there's include IOStream, but earlier or like that comment that I think Keenan made using. So is using and include, how are those different?
Yeah. Okay, so using is really part of C++.
Okay.
Okay, it wasn't part of C. C basically, so C++, the history of C++ is that it took C and took it to the next level with introducing objects, right? Now, hash include is C history. It's been around for decades. What hash include says is that, this file that Keenan just wrote, what is it, like 21 lines long? Right? So what hash include says is that this is not a 21-line file. It is actually a 20,000 line file, because the compiler, when this goes to the compiler does not see 21 lines. What the compiler sees is, oh, Keenan just sent me a program. It is 20,000 lines long. And in the last 20 lines of that program, the compiler will see Keenan's program. The reason for that is that the hash include is actually what is called a compiler directive. It's not even a proper compiler job. It's a directive of the compiler saying, before you even start compiling, take the entire contents of this file, however big it is, maybe megabytes long, it's the entire Wikipedia, all right? And stick it right in front of this file and create this even bigger file with these 3 lines stuck on the end. That's the thing we need to compile, right? So hash include means that.
Okay. So what would be
using namespace is slightly different, because using namespace, all it says is just one line directive saying to the compiler, if you have a variable in your program whose scope you can't attach to something, then look in this namespace to see if it is defined inside of this library. That's all it says.
Okay.
So that's the difference.
Okay.
Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, thank you for sticking around, even past the end of class and all. Okay, I'm going to hope to see you and more of you guys on Thursday and we'll code. Hopefully you'll figure out in Reddit before Thursday. That's 2 days from now, right? Figure out a good way to do share coding, okay, on Thursday. Or even set up
Professor,
yeah.
I have one last question.
Sure.
So what is the significance of this on line 14, the +4,5?
Oh, hang on. Oh, I didn't even explain that. Okay, wait, let's put a comment on the right of that, okay? Yeah, put it right up there. Yeah, this is a functional representation of the expression 4 + 5 of the expression. In fact, you shouldn't say this is D. It should be A. This is a possible functional representation. This is a possible. This is a no. After this is a possible. After this is a type. This is a possible functional representation. All right. No. All right. Yeah. Say possible there. Okay. Of the expression 4 + 5. Right. On the next line, let's say something else, right? Maybe instead of plus, we could have used the word PLUS. In that case, it will say PLUS open parentheses 4,5 close parentheses, right? 4,5. And then put an int in front of the plus, put an int space in front of the plus, in front of the plus, not there, in front of the plus, say int space, right? Now, put a comment there too on the end of that, on the end of the line. This would be a way of declaring a function called plus, which takes 2 integer parameters and returns their sum. All right, is that comment helpful generally? We've got to imagine that we're looking at what Keenan's typing without listening to me, meaning that, some student later on just wants to look at the video, right? And mute the audio. And they should be able to still understand that. And I think so. Yes. I think so.
Like that? Is that how you spell integers?
Let me read that. Int plus 4,5. Yeah, put a hyphen in front of this so that, in 4,5, this would be a way of declaring a function, a spelling error function called plus, which takes 2 integers and gives and returns the sum. And say returns the sum. Does that make sense? Right? The main is a function that returns integer. Plus is a function that returns integer. Now, I put a blank line after the word sum. Put a blank line after the word sum. And then, let's put a comment above the cout. One more blank line. And then say above the cout, let's put another comment. Yeah. And say, this is how we do it in cout. This is how we do it in cout. This is how we do it in C++.
All right, Professor, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah, me too. All right, thank you, Zane. Thanks for coming.
Awesome.
Yeah,
see you on Thursday.
Good.
All right.
Everybody okay now?
Professor.
All right, goodbye, and I will see you
If
guys.
anybody wants to screenshot this or anything, I'll leave it up.
No, it's not going to be. This is going to be.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. Yeah, even Sam was worried last class, and I said, it's going to be in YouTube. So.
All right.
Hey, Ashwath, did you have a question for me? You raised your hand or something. He's gone. All right, he was saying bye-bye. All right. So anyway, bye-bye, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Brittany, you guys all have to write next week. You all got to try and code and come on screen, okay? All right. See you guys.
You got you. Yeah.
Bye.
All right, bye. Thank you.